when it comes to Once Upon a Time, the way I normally structure the videos, at least with producing them, is unless the casting announcement is really, really big, like say they cast Moana or say Elsa was coming back to Once Upon a Time, I generally wait for 3 stories to drop. And since the show ended back in December for its spring break, it's been very minute with stories, and now 3 more or less have dropped. Episode titles were sprinkled, but I don't think one episode title deserves one video, so I waited for essentially a good chunk of them to be revealed. I now have 6 titles to discuss and 2 casting announcements to discuss as well, and I have a few what's going on in-house at Disney things to talk about really quick as well at the end of the video. Sorry the content has been so sparse. I really don't like having my own spring break from videos, but since I don't tend to do reactions anymore just with my schedule, everything kind of just gets focused on when lots of Once stuff drops. And once Upon a Time comes back in March, we'll get trailer reviews and episode reviews and maybe live streams again. So there's still a lot to come up in about a month or 2. So let's talk about the titles that we have. Now, episode 12 is called The Taste of the Heights, and we actually did discuss that a little while ago, but I had thought because of the title, it was going to be focused on Gabrielle Anwar's Lady Tremaine. However, it seems to be focused on Tiana, and both Facilier and Naveen will be in this episode. So it's going to be a Tiana backstory-based episode, which I think is interesting. Makia Cox hasn't had a lot to do this season. Tiana's a great Disney princess. I love her as a princess. I love Makia Cox's portrayal of both Sabine and Tiana, but I think writing-wise, Tiana has really been given the shaft. So then after A Taste of the Heights, we have Nightfall for episode 13, and there's very little info on this episode. It's possibly a continuation of Tiana's backstory because her mother, Robin Gibbons, or Eudora, who's played by Robin Gibbons, will be in that episode. Then, in episode 14, the title is called The Girl in the Tower. Now, this episode seems to be very, very much a Robin and Alice backstory. The Girl in the Tower, since Alice was stuck in the tower after Gothel left her, it seems, significant in that regard. And we're also going to finally see this whirlwind romance for the LGBT community when it comes to Robin and Alice. I think we need that because, when Robin and Alice were revealed to be a couple in the winter finale, everyone, at least not everyone, I didn't think it was, this big couple yet, because they were kind of forcing it on us. So I want to see this relationship really play out. Also, Dr. Facilier will be in that episode. It looks like Dr. Facilier is going to be having a bigger role throughout 7B. So then episode 15 is called Sisterhood, and Anastasia and Drizella will both be in this episode. My guess is that it's going to be heavily focused on them. I'm guessing there might be some Regina Zelina undertones if possible, but that's my guess more or less, that it's going to be a Drizella Anastasia episode, which just makes sense, especially since there's a massive sibling rivalry between the two of them. Then episode 16 is called Breadcrumbs, which is written by Jerome Schwartz and Jane Espenson. That's all that was revealed with the episode. They're 2 solid writers. I have issues with Jane Espenson's writing because I think she focuses justly so on one part as opposed to giving equal attention to both the flashback and the present story. But I think with Jerome Schwartz, who's a very solid writer, that the episode will be really good. There's, again, very little information beyond who was writing it. So I think that should be fine. I mean, we'll find out more about it in a couple weeks once we get the trailer. So then episode 17 is the episode that everyone is really excited about because it's called Chosen, and it's the episode that Lana Parilla is directing. And also Rebecca Maid will be green in that episode. She will be either in an Oz flashback or somehow Zelina will have been turned back to her green form. I don't know exactly what's going to be going on there, but this is Lana Parilla's directing debut. This is great to add to Lana's resume. It's great that she's getting to do more as a person in Hollywood. And this happens actually a lot in TV shows. Darby Satcherfield, probably just totally butchered her last name on Scandal, who plays Abby, has directed a couple episodes of Scandal. Oh God, I'm blanking on his name at the moment. David Schwimmer, who played Ross on Friends, directed a couple episodes of Friends. Shannon Doherty, when she was on Charmed, directed a couple episodes of Charmed. It's very good to add to their resume. They generally aren't going to end up being film directors, but it will just give them more to do and possibly more money. It's a really good to add to that directing portfolio. And, you know, actors have a different perception than, you know, what a normal director would have, even though in television, the writer is king, and that's very, very true to Once Upon a Time. But, you know, Lana is going to have a bit more input into what's going to be going on in this episode, and I have a feeling that Rebecca Mader will be the lead, and Regina will be in maybe none to 3 scenes. When Shannon Doherty was directing her episodes of Charmed, she was very much in the background for 2 of the 3 episodes she directed. The last episode she directed was her character's final appearance, and she was front and center. But I have a feeling, just from the way that Once is set up, and that the fact Rebecca Mader is going to be green in this episode, Lana is going to be very much one or two scenes, and Rebecca is going to be a very central focus. I'm looking forward to episode 17 quite a bit, just because I think there's a lot to happen in it. And also, I don't know too much what's going on with the plot of 7B, so it's fun to, be excited for more witches. And then episode 18 is called The Guardian. I'm guessing we're going to get more of Rumpelstiltskin with his quest, because that's what he's been looking for, possibly Anastasia. But that's all the info I have for episode titles. So then we have 2 casting announcements. And the first one is Kip Perdue, and he will play Chad, who is Zelina's real-world husband. So that means he is not from either of the Enchanted Forest. And Kip Perdue, he's a movie actor, he's a TV actor, but the role that I know him in is Sunshine on Remember the Titans. I do not like football, not a fan, but I loved Remember the Titans. I thought it was a fantastic movie. Sunshine was a really fun character. He had that moment where he actually kissed one of the main, I'm blanking on the character's name, which is horrible. He's the one who died. Sorry for the spoiler, but Remember the Titans has been out for years, but he kissed him. It caused a huge ruckus on the team, just given the time of the film and whatnot. But it was it's a really good role. He's a really talented actor, and his casting announcement describes him as a clever, romantic guy who's no stranger to grand gestures. He keeps a cool head and maintains high levels of patience and compassion, even when it seems like his world may be turned upside down. And I have a feeling his world is going to be turned upside down very soon when he finds out that his wife, or wife-to-be, and stepdaughter-to-be are witches from a magical world. Apparently, according to Adam Horowitz and Eddie Kitsis, they really want to do this idea of having a muggle, get to hang out with a magic person. I say muggle just because it's essentially a real world and a fairy tale character. We kind of have had that, but Jennifer Morrison, she thought she was from the real world, or Emma thought she was from the real world, but it turned out quite the opposite. And, Neil blended into the real world. We had Tamara and Greg way back in season 2. By the way, if any of you dislike Greg as a character, and I did, he is playing Coyote on Grace and Frankie, which is now in its 4th season on Netflix. His character is fantastic. You will have a completely different perception of at least the actor, because he plays many different emotions on the show, as opposed to Greg, who is just a horrible, horrible villain. But Greg and Tamara were really the only people from the real world that were interacted with characters, and Neil and Tamara's relationship was essentially forced. Tamara was, doing it to manipulate him. So apparently, Chad and Zelina are going to be, or Chad and Kelly, I should say, are going to be in love, more or less. Zelina clearly has feelings for him, at least are cursed feelings, and Chad has real feelings. So that's actually be really good for Rebecca Mader's portrayal of Zelina, to be this more conflicted character. But I'm looking forward to it. I think this is an interesting dynamic to take, and I think they have a really good actor on their hands. So then we have Jeffrey Pierre, who is going to be playing Prince Naveen. Now, we're essentially getting the entire cast of Princess and the Frog. We'll have Dr. Facilier, we have Tiana, and we have Prince Naveen. And Jeffrey Pierre was on Freeform's Beyond, a show I thought was interesting from the trailer, but then I watched the pilot, and I was like, no, never watching this. I'm not a big fan of the Freeform shows. And he was also on Shameless, a show that I actually don't watch, but people love. I think he was a love interest for one of the main characters on Shameless. And it's a good TV resume. If you're in a very popular, I believe Shameless is a Showtime show, and then you're on Beyond, it's Disney, so, they're essentially keeping talent in-house, which is good. You like when companies are doing that. So I trust, who they have to play him. So his casting announcement describes him as a fun-loving, freewheeling adventurer who cares little about the dangers of the world. At least that's how it appears. In truth, Naveen's easy exterior hides a heart struggling with a tragic past. One he is determined to make amends for, and even if it means sacrificing everything he loves in the process. While that ending is very tragic, I think it's very interesting. It also describes him as a 30-something African American. Before I talk about his casting call, what I find interesting is Naveen was like Mediterranean in the movies. Tiana was African American. That's no denying that. But Naveen was not black at all. So I think it's interesting that they are changing him to no longer be Mediterranean or Maldonian. I mean, he could possibly be still from Maldonia, but Naveen has now become a black character, which he was not in the film. Facilier was, Tiana was, Eudora was, Tiana's dad was, but Naveen was not. Tiana and Naveen were, I believe, at Disney's first interracial couple, next to Milo and Kita from Atlantis, but at least first Disney princess interracial couple. So, he's fun-loving and freewheeling. That's very much the character, but also says he has a tragic past. And the show, I imagine it's going to be tied to something that he did that he needs to make amends for, as it says. And he's going to sacrifice, that he could sacrifice everything he loves in the process. I mean, a little dramatic, but it's once upon a time. What do you expect? I'm curious to see how he will interact with Micaiah Cox, but I have a feeling it'll be pretty good. Last thing, Jeffrey Pierre is from Boston. Actually, he went to Northeastern, which is actually very close to where I go to school. I read that on the Once Wikipedia. I thought that was really cool. So shout out to all Bostonians out there. And that's the 3 stories. I like the titles. I like who we're getting for Chad. I like who we're getting for Naveen. I think it's going to be really cool, and we have a lot to look forward to come March 2nd. Also, Aladdin Aladdin concept art came out for the live-action Aladdin movie because that filming wrapped. And that movie doesn't come out until 2019, so they probably have a lot of VFX to do. The Captain Marvel costume was revealed, and it is horrendous. I do not like it. Brie Larson looks very bad, which is weird. I can't believe Kevin Feige let that happen. Incredibles 2 concept art came out from Disney. That art looks really cool. I'm looking forward to Incredibles 2 quite a bit. And also the Ant-Man and Wasp trailer debuted today, and that was a fun trailer. I'm looking forward to Aladdin. I love Aladdin. With Guy Ritchie. I almost said Guy Fieri. That is not who is directing it. With Guy Ritchie directing, I think a lot of people were very concerned. I trust Disney to put their live-action Disney princess fairy tales in the best hands possible and those who they think can do it well. So I trust Guy Ritchie. I think the film will be fantastic. I also trust Kevin Feige quite a bit. Excuse me. I just think that maybe the Captain Marvel costume needs retouching. I just wish it was a little bit more connected to the comics. But then again, the MCU always changes up the things they do. Incredible concept art. I mean, it's Pixar. You can't really go wrong with Pixar. I actually still haven't seen Coco yet. I will get on that once the film comes out on Blu-ray. I love to go to the movies. I really do, but I didn't have the draw to go see Coco in the theater. So I will get the Blu-ray. I got the Blu-ray for Cars 3. I liked Cars 3, surprisingly. Hope I probably will like Coco. I like The Book of Life. But Incredibles 2, can't go wrong with that. And then the Ant-Man and Wasp trailer. It's MCU. It's Kevin Feige. It's awesome. And I think the Fox Marvel deal is getting closer and closer because there was a headline just yesterday or Monday, which was yesterday at the time of this filming, that 5,000 to 10,000 jobs at Fox will be gone once the acquisition goes through, if it goes through, which is just horrifying. It just shows how cutthroat Hollywood is. Fox doesn't have a streaming service. Disney doesn't have one, at the moment, but it's getting one. But, I think it's foolish for Disney to cut all of the Fox jobs, but at the same time, the people at Fox, they're going to have essentially people who do the same stuff at Disney, so that I don't need that to save money. But it's very scary to just see how cutthroat the Hollywood industry is when it comes to acquiring other companies. I know when they acquired like Marvel, Pixar, etc., like they needed to keep the creatives there, but Fox does what Disney does. It's the first time they have assumed a studio, so this will be very, very interesting. So anyway, what do you guys think about all the stories I just talked about with, beyond Once Upon a Time? And what do you think about the 3 Once Upon a Time based stories? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I will talk to you guys all really soon in the comments below. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you all, and hopefully new content to come out at some point this week. Is there any other videos you want me to do? Leave a request in the comments below. I know a couple of you have asked for top 10s. Just remind me about what you want for a top 10. I know it's going to be focused on once. That's fine. Just let me know what you want. Or if there's any other Once Upon a Time based video as well, let me know. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and we'll talk real soon. All right, guys. Bye.